web publication, and Tim Campos, who we're very lucky to have today. He's the CIO of Facebook on a global level. So when you're ready, guys, up you go.
Good afternoon. Now, somebody tweeted earlier that they hope this conversation will get really heated. It's a fireside chat, so I suppose that implies some kind of heat. I don't know how heated we'll get, but we'll certainly try to interest you and entertain you.
Well, we can at least spice it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No heat, more spice, something like that. Anyway, Tim, it's great to speak to you because at the Next Web we cover loads of things that Facebook does. You know, new apps, new features. But it turns out there's a lot of technological innovation and creative thinking going on behind the scenes, the internal workings of the company as well, and that's what you're in charge of.
That's exactly my job. So the way that I like to describe what I do is I pretty much am responsible for all of technology at Facebook that's not the product. So what are the things that we can do to support the workforce, to help them build the features that everybody knows and loves as Facebook? How do we support the business operations? How do we recruit the talent that we have? And how do we just have one of the most productive and efficient workforces in the technology industry? These are all the challenges that I have to overcome in my job.
Yeah, so give us some examples of some of the things that you work on in your role.
So I'll start with some of the basics of what people expect from IT organizations, but that we treat somewhat different. One of the things that defines my career is immediately before Facebook, I worked at a very traditional enterprise company, which is really more about the industrialization of the world, manufacturing. They build product that you can physically touch, and Facebook is anything but that. And Facebook is a company that grew up in the knowledge economy, and so the workforce at Facebook is very creative, and the knowledge worker is a precious and very valuable asset, more valuable than anything else that we have in the company. Therefore, their productivity is essential. So we do things, just starting with how you're onboarded. It's very critical that you're up and running and productive within the first 45 minutes of walking in the door at Facebook. So we do a lot to make sure that everything is provisioned ahead of time, to simplify the tools so they're very easy to understand, very intuitive. But on the other side of the spectrum, we start looking at functions. How do we make functions more effective? We take a lot of the big data techniques that we've used in our product to help the company grow and help us optimize our feature set, and we apply them more in the enterprise context. So how do we find the best people on the planet to come work at Facebook? How do we help our sales reps present to their clients insights that are interesting, relevant, and valuable that will help them understand how to better spend on Facebook and be more effective on Facebook? And these are some of the challenges that my team approaches.
Okay, so you talk about big data there. Big data is obviously, and using data to analyze your workforce and see where efficiencies can be made and things like that. Obviously very useful, but can that kind of cause a problem, a bit of a conflict when you think about that human intuition is a useful factor as well? I mean, do you allow for human approaches and opinions, or are all your decisions driven by data?
A lot of our decisions are driven by data, but at the end of the day, the decisions are owned by humans. So whether we're talking about a decision about whether we should go forward with a product, or we're talking about whether we should go forward with a person, whether we should hire somebody, in both cases you can get a lot of data to help inform that. You might have some beta testing on the product that implies that it's going to affect utilization in a certain way, or brand sentiment in another way. But sometimes you just have to have that gut intuition that this is the right thing to do. Fortunately, we have a leader with our CEO who has been better at that than not, and that has helped us quite a bit on the product side. When we get into internal business operations, it's kind of the same thing. So data will help inform us on whether or not you're going to be a good employee in the company, and whether you're going to grow and be productive and develop cool features that people will utilize. But at the end of the day, it's the hiring manager's got to make that decision. And no matter what light they get from the systems, red, green, yellow, that light is not accountable for making that person productive. So at the end of the day, a human has to make decisions. And I think this is kind of the world that we're heading into, that big data helps to inform things, but it is not going to automate our lives so that there are no humans anymore. A lot of what makes us effective is that we grow and we learn, and a lot of times we grow and learn by making mistakes, doing things that are counter to what the data tells you at the right times. But so, long story short, I don't think that the big data insights that are becoming more prevalent in companies today are going to replace people.
Okay, looking at all the things that you do, then, do you view them as proprietary advantages that you can use your expertise to give Facebook, or is it something that you think can and should be shared in terms of kind of best practices and some of the approaches you take?
I think for almost everything that we do, the practices can be shared. It's starting to look at how we share technology. So the solutions that we use to build our analytics environment are open source technologies that are available to anybody in the world, and for the most part, they're free. We even open source our server design and how we build out the data centers. And it's because the differentiation that makes Facebook what it is that people are coming to the site every single day and contributing, building new friendships, sharing new content, uploading new photos. And it's that data and that context is unique to us. So the techniques that we use to process it and manage it are absolutely things that we can share. And by sharing, actually, we learn a lot. Whether it's by open sourcing some of the tools and then we get the contributions from the community back on them, or even just coming to summits like this and talking a little bit about how we do things. It's a great networking opportunity for us to then learn from others and see how they do things. So.
And looking at the the various techniques and things you've implemented at Facebook, what are you most proud of?
There's a lot of things I'm really proud of. One of the things I'm most proud of what we have been doing on the systems investment side. If you look at a company that's very similar to us, Google, a very innovative company. Google has chosen to innovate by basically building everything on their own, and they've done some amazing things. And Facebook has a lot of the same capabilities, and we do innovate a lot of stuff on our own. But we are much more effective in doing that where we can't get the technology from anywhere else. And so this is more true in my organization than anywhere else in the company. When we're looking at something like how do we hire, well, the recruiting process is very unique to Facebook. And so we're much better off building a fully customized recruiting system, having our own analytics on how do we sort and prioritize resumes, how do we provide feedback back to interviewers on whether they're doing a good job of interviewing people or if there are things that they need to do differently. These are all elements of the process which are very unique to Facebook. But when you get into something like performance management, we have unique processes, but it's something where we can, there are startups up there that are looking to innovate. One that we worked with a couple years ago, Ripple, we got connected with them. We partnered with them on the development of their performance management system, which is basically a more social version of a 360-degree review. And we taught them how we do calibration of employees. We taught them how we do user interface design. They taught us a little bit about what works more effectively with companies in terms of rating systems. And that partnership then helped build what has now been acquired by Salesforce as Work.com. And so it's a kind of innovation which, was the genesis of it existed not just within Facebook, but through partnership with other companies. And and we have a number of examples of that within my organization, not just with Salesforce, but MicroStrategy, with Oracle, with other companies, where we've done stuff together. The other thing I'm really proud of is just how our workforce thinks of us. My wife used to work at a very big IT company, and she came home one day in tears, and she's just crying. Oh, I hate my job, and I wanted to know what was wrong with her. I was like, Shannon, what happened? She's like, I had to change my password today. And the experience was so awful because her company, had 3 levels of help desk, and the level 1 help desk couldn't do certain things, so she'd have to call the level 2 help desk, and that phone number didn't work. And it was an example of a company that tries to optimize their IT spend over optimize the productivity of their employees. And when employees talk to me about what it's like to be at Facebook, one of the things that they say is, the most striking difference between Facebook and even other technology companies is the technology support that they have. And they have everything that they need when they show up on day one. They're very much empowered. We're very innovative in terms of how we deliver support and how we make sure that people have the things that they need. And we give them, these really innovative tools that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, when you say in terms of support, how are you innovative in terms of support? How does that manifest itself?
So, one of the things that we've done that's gotten a little bit more visibility than others has been, when an employee needs equipment and stuff, we don't make them go to the help desk. We have little vending machines that sit everywhere in the company, and so you just go, you badge in, and you get a power supply, a keyboard, a mouse, whatever it is that you need. And it just drives friction out of the process. But we do other things. When you go up to the help desk, you badge in. We know who you are. How long have you been at the company? What's your role? Are you an engineer, or are you a finance person? If you're an engineer, you probably know what you're doing when it comes to equipment. If you're a finance person, well, maybe you need more basic remedial support. And by knowing that information, we can provide better support to people, which helps us, deliver things in ways that make people more productive and efficient.
And what's your biggest challenge right now? It sounds like you've solved lots of problems. What's kind of occupying your time and your thoughts?
Well, definitely by far the biggest challenge of my role at a company like Facebook is the fact that the people that I support are some of the smartest engineers in the world. And how do you make people like that productive when, in many cases, they could literally write the software that you're using to support them? And what that does for me is it just sets a really high bar, both for me and for my organization, where we want to make sure that we are the best in the world at what we do, not measured by other IT organizations, but measured by the people that we support. The other thing when just getting into the business, this is a growth business, and so we have very interesting challenges on how do we hire the best talent? How is Facebook going to feed its growth needs over the next 3 years? It's hard to find the best people in the world, so that's a very interesting technical challenge that my team can help with. And the same thing on revenue. How are we going to grow? How are we going to make our sales organization more efficient? How are we going to help make sure that they have the insights that they need to support their customers? And again, those are really, really interesting problems.
Just so you know, in a couple of minutes we'll throw out the microphones to you, so not literally throw them, but so if anyone has any questions, have a think about those, and we'll come to you in a moment. In terms